So you failed at cold outreach. Welcome to the club. But just because you failed doesn't mean that you're a failure. All right? It just means you need to learn from the past, avoid the same mistakes, and get better in the future. And that's what we're gonna go over and focus on in today's video. After working with hundreds of clients, thousands of Upticks users, and sending millions of cold emails, cold calls, DMs, etc., and seeing so many businesses fail with cold outreach, I boiled down the 3 business reasons that people fail at cold outreach so that you never have to worry about generating more leads, more deals, and more sales ever again. Now, grab a pen and paper for this one, because if you listen to everything that I'm going to share with you in this video, I can almost guarantee that it's impossible to not succeed with cold outreach if you follow everything and you actually implement it, okay? So, there's 3 reasons, and we're gonna dive into each one in complete detail, all right? But it all starts with your mindset. And I know I'm not Tony Robbins, but this is massively important, and we have to address it because it's plaguing 95% of you. Then it comes down to your strategy, which you're probably screwing up royally, no offense. And lastly, your offer. So all 3 of these things work together as a sales tripod. And if you're missing even just one of them, the whole thing crumbles, all right? So make sure you stick around for all 3. All right, now in this video, this isn't just pre-recorded, scripted training. This is an actual lecture I'm gonna give to you here. So I've got some notes, all right? So this is gonna be a totally off-the-cuff training. If you're familiar with some of my content in the past, oftentimes, it's scripted, it's thought out. And not that I didn't think everything out, but I've got a whole long list here that I'm gonna go over with you on each point, okay? For those of you that don't know me, my name is Patrick Spielman. I'm the founder and CEO of Upticks, which is the best sales software on the planet to help you fix all your business problems, grow your revenue, sales, all that kind of stuff. All right, why should you listen to me? My first business that I built into a top 10 franchise as master franchisee for over 10 years, okay? I built that business to a top 10 in the matter of a couple years. All right, I did it on the back of cold outreach. That led to the CEO of that business, the whole franchise organization, and there were hundreds of franchisees, asking me to start a cold outreach service for the franchisees, okay? So we serviced a ton of different franchisees with cold outreach. We started with cold calling, all right? We added cold email, we added LinkedIn, all right? That led to the CEO and the entire organization asking if I would help them open up 7 countries in Asia, all right? So I opened up multiple countries. I flew over to the Philippines 2 different times to do that. All right, now I'm not telling you this stuff to brag. I just want you to know what my background is. But everything was based on cold outreach, okay? That agency built and grew and all this kind of stuff over time. And eventually that led into Upticks, the software, okay? So Upticks is an all-in-one sales automation platform. All right, so as I told you, I've serviced hundreds of clients, a ton of different cold email, wizards out there, gurus, course creators have copied my stuff on the internet, basically, okay? And I'm gonna teach you the 3 main things, which actually boils down into about 9 things total on what to avoid. So let's get started, first of all, with mindset. And I hope you don't mind, I've got some notes here, so I'm gonna make sure I hit all the key points. All right, first of all, you think outreach is easy. I've seen time and time again, businesses come into Upticks, launch a single sequence, usually with cold email, write the worst copy in the face of the planet, get the worst lead list they can possibly get, cheapest lead list at that as well, and think that they're immediately gonna attract customers. Meanwhile, they probably don't have a website, they have no social presence, nothing, okay? So outreach, newsflash, it's like everything else. It's hard, okay? But it's worth doing. The ROI far outweighs the cost, okay? If you do things right, which of course we're gonna go through in the rest of this video. But just like everything else, it's hard. There's no silver bullet. I know you've probably watched tons of training out there on people telling you that cold outreach was easy. And maybe some of my videos portray that as well. If you found me or saw, in my YouTube content or in my past webinars, at the end of the day, we're marketers and we're salespeople, right? But don't be fooled into thinking that outreach is easy. It's not. All right, if it was, you'd all be doing it. We'd all have billion-dollar companies, right? So get that out of your head. That's the first thing. And if that scares you away from trying it again, then guess what? If you're a business owner, you're probably not going to succeed. Or if you do succeed, maybe you're just going to sit around and rely on referrals and networking forever. Okay? You can build a good little business that way. That's how I started my first company. Outside of cold emailing, personalized. Okay? So get it out of your head. Outreach isn't easy. Okay? Just like marketing, just like inbound, paid ads, all that kind of stuff. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it and we'd all be billionaires, sipping Mai Tais somewhere in Bora Bora, right? Okay? So that's the first point. The second, in terms of mindset, is you're too desperate. Once you actually start reaching out, you come off too desperate and like you need something immediately. So this trickles down into the way you write copy, if you're picking up the phone cold calling, if you're sending DMs. This all bleeds into what people think that and how they perceive you ultimately. Okay? They call it commission breath. All right? You need the sale. And this is a huge problem with most people's outreach. You're too desperate. You're trying to get something immediately. Send a cold email, get a reply, get a customer, right? Get them to land on your website and they're gonna just magically hand over their social security number, their bank details, their credit card without ever meeting you, seeing you, having no social proof, no online presence at all. Wrong. That's not the way it works, okay? So you can't be desperate. You gotta go into this with a long-term strategy. This isn't a flash in the pan tactic that and I'm not trying to crap on, some of the young agency owners out there. They're young, they're motivated, they're trying to build their business. I've been in that position before. I know, like, you're trying to excite your prospects into thinking that it's just so easy. It's not. And that ultimately leads you into thinking with a desperate mindset. Okay? You're gonna fail if you do that. Okay? You're better off not trying at all. If you're gonna go into it thinking you're gonna get the immediate result. Are you gonna get some low-hanging fruit? For sure. But you have to have the long-term mindset when you do this kind of stuff, or you're gonna fail. Okay? It doesn't benefit me to tell you that because ultimately, at the end of the day, I wanna try to sell you something, right? We're launching and have our Cold to Gold challenge, that I'm using to incorporate all these things and helping people fix those. All right, this isn't a sales pitch on that. I'll get into that in a little bit. All right, the next thing, you're spending 80% of your time, this is the 80-20 rule, 80% of the time on the 20% of things that don't matter. What are those things? You're fiddling around with all these tools, you're not focusing on the overall process, you're not focusing on the overall strategy, and you're not focusing on your offer, okay? So start spending 80% of your time on the 20% that does matter, okay? I'm gonna get into those things. We're gonna talk about each and every one of those. Ultimately, what you need to do is you need to work smarter, not harder. Keep watching this video and I'll help, all right? So that's mindset. I hope I hit the point home on a lot of those things and you kind of understand, all right? It's not easy. You're gonna have to work at it, okay? And stop with the desperation, all right? Now next, that's gonna ultimately bleed into strategy. So let's talk about strategy for a little bit. First of all, your infrastructure. Now there's a lot of different things. I don't know if you're watching this video because you've tried cold email, if you've tried cold calling, if you've tried social DMs, LinkedIn outreach, that kind of stuff. I've done all of that. So I'm gonna try to talk a little bit more broadly. But in terms of infrastructure, I know cold email is super popular right now. So let me start there first. You're sending emails from your primary company domain. Uptick's domain is upticks.io. You're probably on a website right now with cold2gold, .com or something like that. But we use upticks.io for a core company domain for Upticks. You should never send cold emails from that. All right, and I have a bunch of other training. I belabored this point. Go to YouTube, check out the channel. I have cold email deliverability. I have webinars, masterclasses, like all that kind of stuff. I've hit that point home, all right? So you wanna use a multi-inbox, multi-domain strategy ultimately, okay, with that. So that's point number one with cold email. But there's some other things, There's things like tools, and not to sit here and try to sell you my software, but I've seen too many people try to send cold emails with marketing software like MailChimp. That is insanity. That's like trying to, I don't even know, like use a Ford Pinto to win a drag race. And not that MailChimp is a bad platform, it's not meant for cold email. So maybe it's more like trying to ride a bike, in a drag race instead of a car, right? It's not meant for cold email. Stop sending cold emails from MailChimp. Stop sending cold emails from HubSpot Marketing Pro. It's not meant for cold emails. And a big piece of it is, of course, email deliverability. There's a whole bunch of other things you can, go check out, a bunch of the features that we have for cold email. Again, not to sit here and hawk my product, but your infrastructure that you're using for your outreach matters big time. Okay? So that's email. On the cold calling side, all right, it's getting harder. All right, phone numbers, just like email, are starting to get marked as spam. These tools, I don't have my phone, it's right in front of me, but you can check on your phone, they're starting to get labeled as spam, right? So you're gonna need an infrastructure to help you prevent that. All right, you're gonna need clean phone numbers. All right, there's a whole bunch of things when it comes down to that. You're gonna need good mobile numbers. You're gonna have to get access. If you're doing cold calling, you need to get their phone number somehow. It's getting harder. A lot of people are, they're not working from an office anymore. So picking up, and calling an office line isn't that easy. So you might need to use some other strategies if you're gonna use calling, and I'm gonna talk about that in a little bit here. If you're using calling as a strategy, it might not be pure cold calling, okay? You might need to have an inbound component to that. In terms of social outreach, I'm gonna use LinkedIn as an example because most of you have a B2B business or client-based business, and LinkedIn is a big part of that. Your infrastructure. And don't get me wrong, I've used LinkedIn automation tools and stuff like that, to send connection requests and send messages and all that kind of stuff. But there's too many tools out there that, and if you don't follow the right process and have the right infrastructure, you can get your account banned. You don't want to put in a bunch of work and build your LinkedIn profile and your online presence to ultimately get it banned. Okay? So you got to have the right infrastructure with this stuff. That's number one. And it goes all the way from cold email to social. All right? There's a number of different things I can get into on this topic, but I'm sure you don't have 3 hours for me to sit here and go through each one of these steps. All right? So the next thing is your list building. Once you have your infrastructure in place, this is where, outside of the mindset and newsflash, everything that I'm going through on this training here sort of coalesces into the next thing, all right? So it's sort of like ordered in terms of importance. But your lead list, I see too many people buying and trying to get the cheapest lead list. They're trying to scrape Apollo and do all these weird things, or scrape the internet, like do all this kind of weird stuff. And they're trying to get the biggest, cheapest list they can possibly find. That's a big mistake. The bigger list you have, the worse the results you're going to get, okay? I know you want just the biggest list and you want to just blast cold emails and you want to use a parallel dialer to call 10 people at one time and just plow through volume. But you're shooting yourself in the foot by doing that. Now, I'm not saying you can't send and do that kind of stuff at scale, but when combined with a bad lead list and it's not highly targeted with your ideal customer profiles and personas, I have other YouTube training and all that kind of stuff on the YouTube channel. Feel free to check it out. I've got list building ones and all that kind of stuff. This is obviously kind of a general, explanation of what you need to think about, right? You want to build small lead lists, as small as you can, okay? Without having to continue to build lead lists over and over and over and over again, like it's your full-time job and you're working overtime doing it, okay? But you don't want tens of thousands of leads and then all of a sudden, boom. Part of the reason is you need to sub-niche when you reach out to people, especially with cold email, for instance. Your copy, and I'm going to get into that in a second, you need to sub-niche into things. You need to write things and say things that is going to resonate with the people that are actually you're trying to connect with. It's too easy to do outreach anymore, okay? Everybody's got a tool like Upticks, everybody's got a lead database. It's all available now. And you can do it at scale, and you can personalize at scale. You can use AI, right? So what's this mean? The barrier to entry is a lot lower, but that means you have more competition. The more competition you have, the better you need to be with your overall strategy, okay? And it really starts with your lead list, all right? And then it gets into multiple other things. After your lead list, I'm gonna get into copy and stuff in a little bit. But next, I'm gonna get into testing and adapting. So going back to when I mentioned how people just try, one cold email sequence, launch it, it doesn't work. We ask them, hey, why didn't you sign up to Upticks after the trial? I didn't get results from my sequence. Well, how many did you launch? 1. How many domains did you use? Inboxes, 1. Let's see your copy. It's terrible, right? And ultimately it comes down to testing, okay? If you go into this with a short-term mindset, going back to point number 1 of this whole thing, you're gonna go into it thinking, I'm gonna write the perfect email the first time, everybody likes what I sell, which is obviously not the case. Most people don't wanna be sold. You're not gonna nail it the first time. So what do you have to do? You have to think about it long term. You have to test things, different angles, different copy, different scripts. Okay, you gotta A/B test. We had this cool little feature called AI A/B test automation. Okay, super, super cool. It actually picks the variations that work the best for your business. And not that I'm trying to sell you the software, but it's incredible how many people don't use it. Why wouldn't you use it? You automatically get better conversions. Why? Because you're too lazy to test. All right? And that's part of the problem if you've failed. All right? You have to test things. And again, if you go into a short-term mindset, you won't test it because you think it's just easy. All right? I hope I'm getting this point across. Next, your follow-up, your nurturing. Again, oftentimes I see people launch the first sequence, first cold call sequence, first cold email, first LinkedIn, and then, it doesn't work. They blame it on the tool, right? The tool doesn't work. Whatever you sold me doesn't work. And I got a million competitors, right? Selling different tools and all this kind of stuff. It's not the tool. It's your strategy, okay? And part of that is ongoing long-term nurture. The odds of somebody seeing a message of yours, handing you the credit card, and saying, take my money is slim. I don't know the stats. There's stats out there, of course. Somebody's got to see your business, your brand 7, 15 times, whatever, before they make a purchase. Does that mean somebody wouldn't make a purchase on the first time they encounter your business? Okay? And a single email sequence doesn't really count, maybe it counts as one of those 7 to 15 touch points. Each email doesn't count into that total. All right, we're gonna get into multi-channel in a little bit on some other things. But by not building the nurturing, the follow-up, the ongoing, the robust process, the long-term, so you have an initial sequence. All right, cool, it didn't work. Say, first you did a waterfall method. You started with email, then it went to cold calling, then it went to LinkedIn. You didn't get anything. Oftentimes you won't. You'll get a small percentage, but then what do you do after that? The lead's not dead. You can still reach out to them. All right, maybe you want to wait 3 months or 6 months. Why aren't you building follow-up into your process? The money is in the follow-up, okay? Stop being desperate. Stop going into it with that short-term mindset. Build for the long term, okay? And part of the problem with that are all the tools. And look, I know it's great to have a specialized tool just to send cold emails, right? But if you don't have a long-term nurturing strategy behind that, with a robust outreach tool that also maybe has a CRM and a bunch of automation, I won't name names, but yours truly has all that. And the reason is because it's hard. And you have to follow up, you have to nurture, you have to engage with your leads for the long term in order to convert them. All right? So that's nurture follow-ups. The single channel mindset. In terms of strategy, look, the rise of cold email, I was part of the boom, okay? I'm an influencer in the cold email space. Although I started my business mostly with door knocking and then cold calling, and then I got into cold email later. But I focused a lot of content around cold email. And so I often see people just using one channel, cold email, or one channel cold calling, or one channel LinkedIn outreach. Not as much of that anymore since LinkedIn put in the restrictions, of course. But it's a house of cards, okay? So think about that tripod I talked about in the beginning, okay? It's sort of like that in a way, except for with your outreach. You take a leg out and the strategy can fall. If you're using one channel and you're reaching out to me in just cold email, look, cold email works great when paired with all these other things, but my inbox is full, all right? You're probably not gonna get attention from me on cold email. You have to be really good and you have to hit me at the right time in order to get results immediately with it. I have to have the problem right then and there. Otherwise, I'm too busy working on other things. Okay? So how do you double, triple, quadruple your odds of success? You add channels. Adding channels also increase the length of how long you're prospecting somebody. Increasing the length of how long you're actually engaging and prospecting somebody increases the odds that that person's going to have a problem that you can solve. Okay? When they have a problem, you can solve. When they have that problem and you can solve it and you've prospected them over a period of time, instead of maybe you prospected them for 2 weeks, if you prospected them for 8 weeks and then you cooled off and then you reach out again, higher chances they're gonna have the problem because they're not gonna buy your stuff unless they have a problem or a need, right? Or a desire. Problems or desires, okay? So get rid of the single channel approach. Multi-channel, always. The last thing in terms of channels and outreach, and this kind of piggybacks also on follow-up and nurturing, that I often see a lot of people not doing because they're cheap, is not using paid advertising, okay? How easy, you know how little money you actually need to spend on paid advertising if you generate traffic with outbound and then just retarget them on all the channels, follow them around on the internet with retargeting ads. You could spend probably $5 a day on each platform. It's super easy. You can then also go deeper with that and do a whole on cold, outbound or cold inbound campaign through a webinar or VSL funnel, which you should do. Because again, the thing you got to think about, outbound is great. I love outbound. That's the way I primarily built both of my first 2 companies. But inbound is amazing too, because people willingly give you their email address, they willingly give you their phone number, and let's say you're doing LinkedIn ads, they're willingly giving you their LinkedIn profile. All right, so you can exchange with LinkedIn or with Facebook, Meta, Instagram, Google, YouTube, all these platforms, exchange some money in order to get something in return from your prospects. Now, of course, you have to give them something, right? It's got to be valuable. This gets into webinars, VSLs, lead magnets, and that kind of stuff. And I understand a lot of you don't want to build that kind of stuff. But you really should start thinking about building that stuff. It's a 24/7 salesperson working for you all the time. There's, of course, some intricacies that go into it. You need to do things right. You want to make sure you don't spend too much money early on and that you are actually getting an ROI, right? So there's a number of things. I understand that. But even just simple retargeting could be super, super beneficial for your outreach. And then eventually you get into this whole inbound strategy. And then once people are willingly giving you their information, you don't have to worry about all this crazy multi-domain, multi-inbox, which is great for cold outreach when you should do. But in terms of inbound, you don't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff. And you should do both. You should do outbound, you should do inbound, right? But when people willingly give you their information, it's much easier to automate email nurturing, automate SMS nurturing, and then add an SDR, add an AE, account executive, closers, setters, whatever, into the mix. Pick up the phone, call them once they've been nurtured to a certain degree, and book an appointment. And you'll actually have a bunch of stats and data on when they're might actually be sort of a solution or a problem aware, a solution aware prospect based on your content. And there's a number of triggers, and you can do things like this inside of Upticks, right? But it lowers the barrier to entry substantially. Paid ads isn't going to do all the work, but when you combine the paid ads, inbound funnels, and that kind of stuff with then an inbound sales approach, which is an inbound outbound to them, it's super, super potent. When we added the outbound mechanism with the inbound leads, ads, that kind of stuff, I don't even want to say we didn't even double our results. I'm pretty sure we 5 or 10x'd our results. With Lead Engine, my original agency, and also with Upticks. All right? Outbound's great. You're going to get a certain amount, right, from that. Inbound's fantastic. And you can really accelerate from there. It's as much as you basically want to spend and you can tolerate. It does take doing a few things right. So that's most of the strategy side. Now let's get into the offer. All right? Now when I say offer, there's a lot of different things that go into offer, just like mindset, just like strategy. There's a number of things that go into it. Okay? But first thing with your offer is the way you structure and frame it. Okay? The way it's perceived. And a lot of that has to do with your copy, your copywriting, right? Could be your copywriting for your emails, your LinkedIn, and your cold calling scripts. Okay? The way you frame and position your business, and this also goes into having a scarcity mindset, being desperate, and all that kind of stuff. When you approach people, now I'm not going to get into in terms of offers like giving people guarantees. I think that's ridiculous most of the time. Not that you shouldn't do it. I want to talk about more structurally around run your copy and coming off as desperate. So with your copy, you don't want to be asking for meetings. You don't want to be asking for time. Okay? You basically are trying to qualify them. With cold email, you're trying to get a reply. Okay? That's it. You just want someone to engage with you. If you're on a cold call, look, and if you can book a meeting, book a meeting. But with a cold email, don't be putting Calendly links in there. Don't be asking for time. Don't be asking for meetings. Just get a reply. With cold calling, if you can book a call, right, a meeting on the call, fantastic. There's more effort that goes into that. But if they're not ready and they just need a conversation, if they're not problem aware, don't sell them a meeting. Sell them something, an asset of some sort that makes them problem aware, gets them start thinking about the problems. Look, I have a lot of problems in my business. I don't sit around and think about them. Now, ultimately, I might know that it's a problem, but oftentimes you got to surface the problem. Okay? So first of all, if they're not problem aware, get them some asset to make them problem aware and then follow back up with them. All right? If they're problem aware but not solution aware, okay, get them an asset that helps them understand what solutions are out there that will solve the problem. All right? And if they're problem aware and solution aware, book the appointment, book the meeting. Now, some people might try to book the meeting even if they're not problem or solution aware. And that's great and all, but you're oftentimes going to just waste a bunch of your time. And buyers in today's market don't really want to sit around on calls and effectively be sold, right? And you can do a lot better job having an asset, a video sales letter, a webinar, a checklist. Like, there's a number of things that you can do to kind of duplicate your time and then follow up with them later. Hey, did you check out that thing? Did you check out that thing? Right? And then once they have, let them come up with some decisions on their own without you. They're going to sell themselves better than you're going to sell them with your commission breath. Okay? And then follow back up, get them on a call at that point down the road. Okay? So, messaging, copy, scripts, most of it comes off too desperate, like I need something immediately. Okay? And again, I have a lot of training on how to write messaging and all that kind of stuff. Again, go check out Cold to Gold Selling with Upticks on YouTube. I got a lot of training on how to write copy and all that kind of stuff. I want to give you high level, right? Now next, in terms of offer, this goes into offer, is your social presence. All right? I've had so many clients that they have zero presence at all. Social media might actually be more important than your website in today's day and age. Okay? What are you putting out there? What kind of content? What kind of value are you adding to your little world? Okay? So how's your LinkedIn profile look? Are you on YouTube, Twitter, X, whatever they call it anymore? Okay? You need to have some sort of presence on there this day and age. If you're a ghost town and you're not adding value out there somewhere, and people can't just, buyers can go and find information about you anywhere. And if they can't find any information about you anywhere, they're going to find it on your competitors. So you're going to reach out to them. You're going to maybe get them to think about these problems or think about these solutions. And then ultimately, they can't find anything on you. And they go type into Google the problem or solution that they want, right? Or they go ask a friend if they have a referral. So you actually did the legwork to get them to buy somebody else's offer because you refused to work on your social presence. And the same thing goes into your website. All right? I've had too many people literally want to do outreach. Hey, can I do outreach without a website? Sure, go ahead, waste your time. All right? It'll be a complete waste of time. If you don't have a website, even just a single page website, right, with good copy, good positioning, maybe a video on there, testimonials, case studies, look like you've done something for other people. And also make sure it looks modern. Make sure it doesn't look like 1990s kind of stuff. After all, we're in the 2020s here. Okay? So it's pretty easy to have a nice website. There's so many systems out there, mobilely responsive. But you have to look like, between your website, you have to look like you've actually helped somebody before. Otherwise, you're just going to do all this work and they're going to go buy from somebody else that they trust, right? And it might not even be that they know that person, but they went and looked and saw that they've been posting on LinkedIn. And then they decided to follow that person. And then that person showed up in their news feed, right? Or they found that there was a YouTube channel on their website. So they went and subscribed and followed their content. And then they watched their videos over and over and over and over and over again. And then eventually, when they're ready, when they have the time, they think of you. This all goes into your offer. Your offer isn't just, here's how I help this person do this thing, or here's what I solve. It's what you're actually offering to the marketplace. What are you offering to people? Are you giving them value? What are you exchanging with them? Okay? Your offer isn't just what you write in a cold email. It's not just what you write in a script. It's not just what you write in a cold DM. It's not just what you write in a funnel. What kind of value are you adding? This goes into your offer. All right? So there's a lot of different pieces to what you need to do in terms of your offer, not just, can I come up with the craftiest guarantee or, messaging possible to get somebody the low-hanging fruit, the most desperate prospects to actually do something. A lot of you, what you're doing is you're trying to subsidize your social presence, your website presence, all that kind of stuff in exchange for writing a single sentence in a cold email, thinking that that's going to be what gets results. No. There's too many choices. There's too many buyers. Right? They're going to buy from somebody else that they can go find and see if they've done something for someone else without having to go hop on a sales call and put in a bunch of work. All right? This goes into your offer. It's what you're offering to the marketplace. Okay? That's the most of it. All right? I talked about testimonials, proof, case studies. You got to have all that kind of stuff. You got to think about all this stuff as a process, a funnel, everything that works cohesively. All right? So if a lot of this made sense, I'm sure you made a lot of these mistakes in the past. All right? If a lot of this made a lot of sense, I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I have a program called the Cold to Gold Challenge. It's a very, very minimal way to help me, for me to help you implement pretty much all of this stuff into your business. Okay? Outbound sales, inbound sales, and yes, even marketing, funnels, webinar, VSLs, all that kind of stuff. It's very cheap. There's a link down below. You can check it out. Very cheap. It's a 5-day challenge. It's going to take about an hour of a day. All right? And each day, I'm going to help you focus on a certain aspect of your business. All right? You can check the link below. The website there is going to explain everything. But I guarantee, I have a guarantee on that as well. If you don't get value from it, then I'm gonna 10x your money. I'm literally gonna hand you 10x the money of your investment if you feel like after you put in the work and do the challenge, it wasn't worth it. If I wasted your time, you know, my guarantee to you is 10x return on your investment. All right, but you gotta put in the work. All right, so check that down below. I hope this video was helpful. I hope these 3 things with all those different sub things was helpful in terms of understanding maybe where you've been going wrong with your outreach, or if you haven't done any outreach up to this point, where not to go wrong in the future. All right. So that's all I have for you today in today's video. Appreciate your time and attention, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks.